And there? And when a person is exposed to doing something against their will, they have two options: do nothing or simply act. An 86-year-old woman did not expect her children and grandchildren to do something so terrible. However, she decided to teach them a lesson for life. This is a story that has never been told before, and I don't think even the hardest heart can bear the sadness of knowing what happened there. And it all happened in Argentina, some time ago. Sofía Rodríguez has had a lonely life in recent years. However, not everything was always like this. She was born in a small town in the south of the country and, as an only child, had all the attention of her parents. He married at age 30 and had his first child soon after. Their other daughter, Sofía, soon arrived. She loved being a mother and enjoyed being with them, who were her greatest adoration, along with her husband. But time passed and they grew up. The woman wanted the best for her children. And you see, she was from a good family, a landowner. His father owned several fields and his mother worked at home. The man, having only one daughter, taught her how to continue with the business, because they wanted to leave everything to her. And finally, it was after losing his parents that he inherited all the assets. It had good savings, a lot of land and, mainly, the house that saw it grow. Sofía's children soon grew up and each one decided to form their own house. Despite this, she remained supportive. More time passed and now Sofía would be 86 years old. Unfortunately, the children and grandchildren stopped visiting her. The last time she saw them was when her husband died, who left after a terrible discovery. You will see that he trusted his children and allowed them to run the business he had with his wife, but they did not know how to run the good and bankrupted him. And they even made the mistake of not paying their 3 fixers. And not only that, they also didn't pay taxes, causing very large debts. And due to the strong impression, the man could not resist. Sofía received a threat that all her assets would be confiscated. So he had no choice but to pay. She was forced to sell several plots of land and was left with only her house. The children just stopped visiting her and she didn't understand why. I wasn't angry with them. For her idea, she understood that in life, the most important thing is the health and company of loved ones and not material things. Your birthday has arrived. She could still move around, walk and even cook. Perhaps your children and grandchildren would arrive. She couldn't even remember when was the last time they spent a day together. But I had faith that they would visit her. In fact, for the last few years, she was always waiting for them, but they didn't come. Now, she was making delicious food and even her own cake. Although it was her day, she made it, thinking about sharing that moment with her loved ones. And the table was almost ready when, suddenly, she heard the door slam. Is it them? It's still early. Sofía ran to open the door and when she did, her face lit up with joy. Children, grandchildren. They've all arrived. Hi Mom, he said. One of them. The older woman couldn't believe it, they were finally there. Fortunately, she woke up very early to make dinner and now all that was left was to invite them to the table to celebrate with the family. The children came in, they arrived on time. Suddenly, she remembered that they didn't have anything to drink, so she asked them to wait inside while she went to buy drinks. The nearest store was a kilometer away. Normally, one of their children or grandchildren would have brought something to share or offered to buy, but there was no interest, and neither did they seem all that happy about Mother's Day. Until the daughter commented, Mom, there's no time for this. Get dressed, let's go out of the house. The elderly woman was thoughtful and astonished. but where are we going to go? Suddenly, she shed some tears of emotion. Her children took her somewhere special. It would undoubtedly be a great detail, but suddenly her son commented, "Mom, get ready, there's no time to lose." "But what about the cake you made, Grandma?" "You must get ready, we have to leave the house right now," said the granddaughter. And soon the old woman realized something: maybe they didn't come for my birthday. Her son's birthday. Asking in amazement, "Yes, she turns 86 today. Today is her day," but none of them congratulated her, and they just told me that she should leave. And suddenly the daughter asked him, "Brother, what time did they tell me that they would arrive?" "And tomorrow morning." The elderly woman seemed confused. "Who will come?" This was strange, she couldn't understand what was going on, but it was clear they hadn't come to stay with her. When they saw the cake, 12 meters, they started cutting it to feed everyone else. And then yes, they didn't even wait to sing happy birthday to her. "Mom, the house is going to be sold. Now, get your things and let's go." And as you will see, a few years ago, the mother gave her house to her 2 sons, each would receive half to prevent them from seeing problems between them. The woman assured him that only after her death would they have her, but that was left in words. If it was never written into the inheritance, she now knew there was nothing she could do about it. However, she thought that maybe she would live with one of her children. What is joy to share with them was not bad. After all, the most important thing was to be with them, and maybe it's time to leave. And the son commented, "We have to start tidying up." However, when they finished things, Sofía said that they should clean up and nothing else. That's not what the advertised is for. She watched in pain as her prized mementos were taken to the trash. She pretty much watched as her life was thrown in the dumps. The strange error felt like his heart had been ripped out. She wanted to say something but couldn't express herself. Suddenly, she began to ask them not to sell anything, that everything was fine there. However, her daughter exclaimed, "Mom, you will be fine too. Here you are alone and the house is big. And we need the money. Do you want to see us on the street? We have to pay for the apartment. Your artifacts and everything else will be sold. It's time for you to come with us." And the woman felt that this was not the plan for her birthday, but going with them made her happy. However, upon arriving at the location, he realized that this was not the case. She was shocked to walk into a nursing home with people she didn't know and with people who stay there for forgotten or are simply a burden on their families. Perhaps because of the great disappointment and shame they felt, she didn't dare say anything. Soon she was taken to her room. All this time, she thought that she would be with her children, and now she was lying in an unfamiliar place. Quickly, they signed the papers and agreed that their attention would go to the establishment as payment for their maintenance. "I'm fine, Mom, we say goodbye now." "Congratulations on your birthday," said her children and grandchildren. But Sofía Rodríguez saw how her husband left her, first suffering for them and now her. How is it possible that they could do this to her? Taking away a place that saw her grow up and that her parents left her. She has always been a mother and grandmother. I was trying to understand, because while one of the employees was filling out the paperwork, she realized that the lady was on her birthday. She quickly warned the others and they organized a small party for her. Sofía couldn't help but feel emotion. Now she was with strangers and they treated her with such attention. Of course, it wasn't the place where she planned to celebrate, but what could you do? Soon, she looked at more people her age. Most seemed to have had a life like her, abandoned. and she never thought that they would take her there so as not to take up space in the house that was once hers. And now she is seen as a burden, an extra mouth. And that was easy to see. And rarely did she receive a visit from anyone. And as for life, it wasn't all that fun. Just a few TVs to watch and an old-fashioned radio was on at all times. Of course, conditions were not good. A month later, the place was being decorated to celebrate Mother's Day. Sofía was alone in her room, although she knew some elderly people, like Moises, who sang to Christina every morning, who said that the children would come soon, but they never did. And Paula, who suffers from Alzheimer's and doesn't even remember who would have a candle. Sofía couldn't be happy. The place was full of people who didn't even lose their lives, but who are already forgotten. At least Sofía can remember who it was, although it would be better not to know that her family left her there. And already on Mother's Day, Sofía saw some young people enter. They were volunteers who attended events to make people happy. Sofía's situation is really sad and difficult. It's understandable that she feels abandoned and has no reason to be happy on Mother's Day, especially when her kids don't show up to celebrate with her. However, it's important to remember that there are many people who care about her, like the volunteers who organized the party and tried to bring a little joy to those who live in the nursing home. Sometimes happiness can come from unexpected places and from people who are not part of our biological family. It's important to keep an open heart and try to find joy where it's available, even if it's not exactly where we expected it to be. His words sounded very sad. Although she looked like she wanted to get well, she wasn't. The youths soon withdrew. However, Emilio, the young man who invited her to dance, asked one of the employees, "It's the first time I've seen that lady." When she arrived, she was brought there 1 month. She's the only one who looks really sad. Apparently, she still isn't resigned to the fact that her kids brought her up. Worst of all, it was her birthday. Well, here we organize a little party for her, but you can see that she is not happy about such news. Emilio returned a week later to visit her. "Yes, young lady, Sofía. I brought you something to eat. It has a fruit and some sweets. I hope you do not mind. Well, you can share or with your friends. Is that all right?" And the woman was very surprised. That's when the boy commented, "You know, that reminds me of my grandmother. My parents abandoned me, today she raised me. Sadly, she passed away a few years ago. I'm sorry if I made you uncomfortable with my story." "No, son. It's okay. It's the first time someone has come to visit me," she said through tears. "And you're good. Family, madam, is very busy." And there they both talked. The elderly woman learned that the young man has a son and a wife, who works as an editor for a local newspaper and volunteers in her spare time, so she helps everyone where brings small donations and joy. He certainly was a good man. When they said goodbye, the woman thanked them for their visit. It meant a lot to her. The day after the reunion, Sofía told a little more about her life and how her children left her. There, she understood that most young people think only of themselves and believe that there is never a place for some of us old people, that we are a burden and it is easier to let go of us. Even more so if there's no money left. Because of our age. They don't need us anymore and think we're just waiting to go to the next world. The man understood the situation. In fact, he himself wouldn't want his children to send him to a nursing home to spend the last few years of his life and take advantage of him, then throw him away like he was something expendable. Somehow he found out the number of one of his sons and called. "Good morning, I'm a volunteer at the house where Dona Sofia is staying. I was calling because it would be nice if someone came to visit her. She needs it." "Excuse me, but we're paying for the asylum. You have to understand, we're very busy," and they hung up the phone. Emilia didn't understand why they were so cold towards a woman who gave her life. No matter how hard she tried, no one came to see her. One day, he visited her again and invited her for a walk in the park. She accepted as she didn't walk much. Suddenly, she appeared in an elegant dress, a beautiful hat and high heels. The young man took her by the arm and they went for a walk. She talked about what it was like in the old days, the music and the people who liked to dress the most. She also shared about her parents and how they became close friends. Every week he came to see her. Dona Sofia confessed that she would like him to be her grandson. Emilio just smiled, because she only approached him and not the others. The woman asked if others accepted her reality. They somehow strengthened that broken and abandoned heart, but don't you wish you could help? Also, you remind me a lot of my grandmother, and the woman hugged him tight and told about her children. Take care of them and everything a mother would want to give. Take care of my grandchildren too. Together with my husband, we paid for their university. We wanted everyone to receive us equally, also support us. We were paying for their apartments, but when he died, everything changed. We had a financial problem, I couldn't help us anymore, and since they were adults, I thought they could manage on their own. As for my grandchildren, apparently, they didn't want to put in the effort. In fact, they stopped seeing me when they saw that I wasn't helping them. So they sold my house, split the money. I thought they took me to live with them, but look at me. I am here. How can you throw away someone who helped and cared for you?" Sofia wiped away her tears and Emilia listened in silence. He had his hand on his throat. "Hi, what's your dream, boy?" Grandma asked. "Well, my dream is that my son can walk. He was born with leg problems and, due to lack of money, we cannot continue with the treatment." "Wow, I didn't know that about your son, because you never told me." "Let me help you," said the mysterious smiling lady. The young man did not understand what she meant, but when he arrived at the asylum, she took her things and took out a small bag. There was a note and a key. "Here they are," address, and placed it in Emilio's hands. "There you will find a small barn. Nobody knows. It's the only thing we don't sell. It belonged to my parents. Inside, you'll find a box. And you will take her with you, late for a special moment." The young man smiled, but did not understand what it could be. Soon, he said goodbye, giving his grandmother a hug. Today was a pleasant and exciting day. Sofia asked him not to come back, to stay with his family. This was said sternly, "Here you have nothing to do. Go with your family, they need you more than me. Don't worry about me, I'll be fine. Besides, you made me feel loved. It does long time no coup." Sofia then sighed and sadly added, "Take good care of your family." Emilio only felt it the next day after work. He went to the specified address, far from the city, in a small barn. There, he found a mysterious box. That's definitely what the woman was referring to. It was dusty. It was obvious that it had been in storage for many years. The young man picked it up, it was heavy, and took it home. "You haven't opened it yet." "I'm at home," the wife Definitely thought it was rubbish and started complaining. I didn't understand what was special about the box. Emilio decided to avoid that, so he took it to the basement and started to open it. There, he noticed that something was missing. Well, first of all, he noticed that there were memories inside. But what he saw next made him at first in disbelief. And there were several jewels and gold bars. Crying, he went to his wife and hugged her. She didn't know why he acted like that, but when she found out what happened, she was surprised. The two had a new hope that the sun doesn't always give. The young man immediately ran towards the elderly woman. He had to see her. No matter how many times she told him not to visit, he went anyway. He thought about getting her out of the asylum, buying a house or an apartment so she could live together. But when he arrived, they informed that Sofía had died and the family members were informed, but no one came forward. Emilio left, sat down on a bench and cried some more. Because she didn't sell to give herself a better life. But as Sofía said, it was for some special occasion and that occasion had come. And the next day, her son had surgery and there was a good chance he could walk. And as a writer, he decided to share an article for the local paper. There, he told much of Sofía's life and the story of how he met her. Soon, it reached the hands of their children who, now without money and with more debts, could not believe what they saw. They read that their own mother gave the most valuable thing to an unknown person. But they didn't know that stranger made her happy in the last moment of her life. Unfortunately, this is a story that represents today's society. Many prefer to put the elderly aside, ignore them or put them in a nursing home to await the end. A sad reality. You don't know that an older person suffers too. I hope this video served you well. Don't forget to give us a like, comment and share. Thank you very much for watching us. By the way, I invite you to subscribe to this channel, if you are not already, and activate the notification bell to receive the latest stories. To the next